Mere Conservatism.
Oh boy. Okay, David. I have been waiting for the production of the podcast Mere Conservatism.
Were you raided by the FBI this week?
Not yet, but I know it's coming.
Man, they would be so bored if they raided my house.
Well,
there's lots and lots of kids' toys, things that make noises. They would probably, my guess is, the raid on my house would end in gunfire because they would be shooting all the toys that were going off, making noises.
Well, first of all, that's David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker. And yeah, this is Mere Conservatism. But the scary thing about that raid, and there are conspiracy people who are pointing out the fact that they would not be putting it past an FBI agent to plant something incriminating.
Yeah. Well, of course.
The problem with...
Yeah, well, see, that's why people that say, well, look, if you've got nothing to hide, then you shouldn't worry about police overreach and privacy concerns and stuff like that. And you see that from people a lot. And the problem with that is that there are people that will make sure they find something on you if they want to.
Exactly.
And at all costs. And so, yeah, that's always a danger that something is planted if somebody is out to get you. Mm-hmm. And if you're Donald Trump, do you think that there's anybody that's out to get him?
Well,
maybe just a handful?
Maybe a handful. And, of course, there are a lot of people outside of the Justice Department that are trying to get him, too.
Yeah.
The state of New York is after him. As a matter of fact, he is right now facing like 4 or 5 private lawsuits as well. I mean, they are really after this guy. But in the case of this raid...
And so... Backing up just a second,
okay.
Donald Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago was raided by the FBI this week. That's
right.
what we're talking about. So in case you haven't heard,
I think they heard.
You just came out from underneath your rock to listen to the Mere Conservatism podcast. That's what's up.
And the operative word is raid. The FBI and some other people have made it official. They don't like that word. It was
really?
It was not a raid. It was an investigation. It was, they said there was no sense of jackbooted thugs coming in, kicking in the door. So it wasn't a raid.
A raid does make it sound like it was a SWAT team.
Yeah. It was a raid.
So it wasn't a SWAT team. But yeah, it was basically they came and they went through his stuff at his house.
Well, and here's the thing. Again, for you and me, and I think for the other side, too, when I say the other side, I'm talking about the Dems and the progressives, everybody's aware of, if you got half a brain, David, everybody's aware of the tremendous double standard that this whole fiasco points to. They don't care, but they like it, and they're rubbing their noses in it. Mm-hmm. But that's the glaring thing that shocked so many on our side because, and again, just when I say, David, they cannot sink any lower, boom, they do it.
Well, it's really kind of amazing because what a lot of leftists will say is, "Oh, you don't like this? Weren't you the one chanting lock her up, and you and all of a sudden you don't like stuff like this?" Well, first of all, I didn't chant lock her up.
Nor did I.
But the point is, they didn't lock her up. That's actually the point of a lot of people that are crying foul on this,
right?
Which is that there seems to be accountability that goes in one direction. There seems to be this sort of scrutiny that always goes in one direction from the deep state. And if you can't see that, I don't know what you're looking at anymore.
Well,
this is what they're saying. They're saying that Donald Trump apparently had some documents from the National Archives that he wasn't supposed to have that they wanted back. And so they had to execute a search warrant to go get them or to go find them. Does this seem like an overreaction to anybody? He has physical paper documents locked up at his house, and you feel like you have to do an FBI search warrant to go and collect it when he's not there and all that stuff. Don't you think that seems a little excessive?
Well, they're rubbing the Donald Trump's nose in this whole thing, and yours and mine too, in one sense. For example, even making sure that we know that they actually went through Melania's clothing wardrobe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they want us to feel this, what's happening right now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of theories out there about what is going on because we really don't know what they found, if anything. What does the warrant say? Nobody has seen it, apparently, to this point. This is my guess, Cleve. This comes from the top. Mm-hmm. The White House does know about this.
Oh, no, they didn't know about it.
No. Sure. They know all about it. Merrick Garland is doing his part to take down Donald Trump. They wanted to go and see if they could find anything. And these documents were a pretext for them to go in and see if they could find anything else. What I think is that they were hoping to go and find some sort of smoking gun that they could use a la January 6th stuff. That's what they were doing. And they thought to themselves, well, he has these documents he hasn't returned yet. We'll use that as a pretext to go in there. We'll rattle him. This will accomplish multiple things. We'll rattle him. We'll invade his space. We'll let him know that he can't hide from us. Maybe we'll find something. Hopefully we'll find a body or something like that in his place, and we'll be able to put him away. This is what I think it was, because I don't think they would have done this for these documents.
Well, let's understand something here. A judge has to sign off on something like this, a search like this. And we know the judge who signed off on it. And he was a progressive, Trump-hating character. I forget the guy's name, but they already know who it is, which tells me they went to somebody who would do it because others would not sign up on this.
If you want a search warrant, of course you're going to go to the guy you know is going to give it to you.
Yeah, so my point is, a lot of people are saying, well, a judge wouldn't sign off on it unless, no. So that's not the case. My thinking is that I agree with you partly, where I think there's maybe a little bit more to it. You got to understand, here's what's going to happen. And so you'll know in a short while if I'm right or not. They're going to string this out as long as they can, leaving it up to the imagination and also the help of the media to work this thing up to all sorts of what could be. Okay, but watch for the leaks to start coming out about what's in there before there's any kind of official pronouncement, because that's what always happens. Mm-hmm. When they get their hands on something that's against Trump or against any person that they're against, and they get it in official hands, not like we have it now, the leaks will start happening. And it'll be just enough to either be tantalizing about this could be the quote-unquote smoking gun that finally does end Donald Trump, but it'll always be something where you know what I'm saying, where it'll stay in the news, keep Biden out of the news. I mean, because this is working for that right now. We're not talking about Biden. We're not talking about Hunter. We're not talking about the economy, which, by the way, has 0% inflation.
I have no idea how they came up with that.
I do. What it basically meant was this: the rate from the previous month did not increase at all. As a matter of fact, it dropped. No, but that's what they do. 0%. It didn't inflate.
There they go, changing definitions again to meet their narrative. Yeah.
So my point is, they're drawing this thing out intentionally, and when the time comes, long before they have an official announcement, they'll leak out enough, because their main thing right now is to impact the midterms. That's what this is all about, and it's timed exactly for that.
Yeah, well, and they're making Trump a martyr.
Yeah,
they probably want to run against Trump. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is there's all kinds of things it could be, but this is just me thinking out loud. Maybe they're thinking if they do this, it makes Trump gets a groundswell, so he's more likely to run, so that they can run against him, and they think that they can beat him. Maybe that's what is going on.
That could be it, which is ironic, because that's what they thought the first time he ran.
Maybe they are trying to radicalize people.
Now you're jumping into my territory. I'm shocked.
This is something that the left, I feel like, has been doing for a long time. Ever since Obama, I feel like they goad us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They do things, and you can see. Like I used to be able to watch Obama speak and talk about his policy and what they wanted to do, what they were doing with the IRS, and all these different things, and think to myself, you are baiting me. Mm-hmm. That's bait.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what this feels like right now. It feels like bait, because people on our side of the aisle are going to see this as an attack on us, and that the institutions are breaking down, and there's and there's no trust anywhere. And where do you go from that, Cleve, except for possibly extremism?
And people are taking a bait on our side. I have seen remarks and comments from folks right now who are ready to take a vacation or whatever, go to Mar-a-Lago, surround his house with their, AR-15 and say, hey, we're here for you, buddy. But my point is, I'm also seeing a lot of stuff being said and written and posted that I'm saying that's not coming from our side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There are people out there that are posing as being on the right that are saying a lot of things.
Because they have to paint the narrative to agree with the narrative they've already painted. Well, now I sound like Kamala. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is this. They've already tried to say there has been an insurrection. Mm-hmm. But what they really want is an insurrection or an effort thereof. That's what they really
people
want.
With Betsy Ross flags.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. They're the most dangerous ones.
They're the ones to watch out for. Yeah.
So they were being baited. They want some type of action. They want to get the justification for the way they have painted you white supremacists in particular, but all of us who are on the right. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, this is very provocative. I mean,
yes, it is.
It is.
Very provocative. Yep.
So I feel your pain is what I'm trying to say. If you feel like, hey, you want to go and bust heads, I feel your pain. However, what they don't want to face, and we need to face before we try to do anything else, is the midterms. Mm-hmm. We have got to hang in there, David, and show some restraint and do the damage during the midterms that need to be done at the
we need to encourage each other to be steady.
Yes. Yes, and to Donald Trump's credit, some of the statements he has released have that impact. He's been measured, more measured than I thought he would have been when I first heard what happened. So maybe he's learned something there as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I always worry about his ability to control himself, and we'll see.
He's done good so far. I mean, you don't check out Truth Social. And I am
on it.
Yeah, but I've been checking out what he says on that, and also I'm on his email, so I get the release from his office, and it's been measured, and I'm shocked. It's been measured. So, matter of fact, it's the other side that has gone just ballistic. Finally, the Justice Department is doing its job. Finally, we can take heart. Finally, you know what I'm saying? They're the ones going all woozy-doozy over this thing. And strangely enough, Donald Trump right now is reacting in a very measured way for him. But now, here's something that I'm going to bring up now. We talked about this a long time ago. You asked this question. And now this latest news for me is like, wow. You said a long time ago, what in the world is the IRS doing collecting ammunition? Why are they doing that? Remember back during the Obama thing? That's when it started. Yeah. And nobody actually answered that. I think we're seeing the answer. Biden and his company are getting ready to hire 87,000 IRS agents thanks to this boondoggle of a bill that they passed, or will pass. Now, almost half of those will go into a division of the IRS that I didn't even know existed. That literally, basically, is like a police force that literally goes to homes and property and businesses, and they go in armed. I'm talking about a division of the IRS, David. I'm not so literally, in my humble opinion, this is the first sign of the creation of a private army for the progressives.
It feels that way.
I mean, think about what I'm saying because it's serious.
I agree with you. It feels really wrong. Now, the measured response, the measured view of this kind of thing would be that the IRS has always had an enforcement wing.
Yeah.
Which I believe is basically true.
Of course.
And while it's hard to understand why the IRS buys millions of rounds of ammunition, they've been doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And most of it is used probably for training purposes. Okay? Mm-hmm. So training for what? You cannot – I defy anybody to realize that the IRS has an enforcement wing with millions of rounds of ammunition basically SWAT teams, and not see that as dystopian.
Well,
and even if it has been going on for a long time, it still seems weird that they would do that. Now, if you have tax dodgers that are dangerous and you have to enforce something, shouldn't like the FBI or somebody else handle that? Why does it have to be IRS agents that are in charge of enforcing that? It just seems weird. It doesn't feel right that the revenue part of the government would do this. You would think it should be law enforcement. It
feels very strange, and it feels very, very threatening.
Yes,
and David, they took down a job posting the IRS did that was worded that they're hiring people for that division and they need to be ready to be in dangerous situations. They need to be ready to use
deadly force.
I mean, they changed it, took it down because it was very poor messaging. They decided. But my point is, again, I'm learning slowly but surely. Okay, Cleve is starting to sound like one of those really deep down conspiracy buffs, and I don't like that. But David, what they're doing it's literally there's literally no precedent for what they're doing right now.
You have to admit that it just doesn't feel right.
No,
and that's the best I can say about it. Being judicious, even you have to at least say it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right that we would have this.
But I would qualify that. To me, it feels what they want it to feel like. It feels threatening.
Yes,
that's what it feels like.
I think you're right,
and that's creating to me an atmosphere that they intentionally want to be there.
Yeah,
they want this atmosphere, and they want it to swirl around Trump, because whether or not they get Trump, whether or not they're successful in finally making sure this man can never hold the office of president again, believe you me, whatever they have done to him to make him their pariah, they will hang around the neck of Ron DeSantis and every other Republican, so that, saying just by identification, you are suspect to yourself. Because if this man is this way, certainly we got to investigate you now, because, hey, you're in the fold, as it were.
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not a good situation, and I hope that Republicans can find a way to take the House, hopefully the Senate next year, but at least the House of Representatives. And the first thing that they should do is not fund these things.
Well,
they ought, the Congress can and should shut down the government over this if necessary. Don't pay them. Get rid of them. Defund the Department of Education. Defund the IRS.
Yeah.
Defund the Justice Department. I'm serious. This is
what some of the leaders are threatening to do once they gain power.
They should absolutely do it.
But they're going to go further if they keep their words, and that's always questionable. And I like this. They're going to conduct their own investigations. When you're in power, you can do something a little bit different than the minority. Fine. Okay, so we need to do both. In other words, we need to get these people on the hot seat, put them in situations, question them about everything that's questionable in the light of the public, something that we can't do now.
Well, and that's good, but see, that's political.
I know.
So you can ask them questions and you can expose what's going on, but people have to pay attention to that and they have to care.
Yeah. Well,
one thing that they can actually do
is defund
it.
Yeah.
And they should absolutely grind the government to a halt in order to get rid of some of this stuff. They should go through and they should do individual spending bills, and then dare the Senate not to take them up and vote on spending for certain things.
Do you think, David, after all these years, because the Republicans have tried things along that line before and have always backed away from public sentiment, when the government shuts down, the Republicans are the one who cave first and give in. Do you think that at this juncture that the Republicans have the cojones to do it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would like to say yes after what we're seeing here. Republicans ought to see what's going on as their backs are against the wall. This is the end. We are approaching the end game. And if they do not stand up on their hind legs and actually do something, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, if they won't do some of this stuff,
Let me see if I understand you correctly, David. Are you saying now that Republicans need to, at long last, realize this is not politics as usual? That literally the other side doesn't want to defeat you. They want to destroy you, which is a big difference. And to me, I think some see it. I think some don't. And McConnell and company are the ones that I'm more concerned about as who still see. For example, I think McConnell actually likes what's happening to Trump. I've heard him say a few things that makes me realize that the Democrats are not going to stop with just destroying Trump. I'm thinking I'm seeing it, but this is what it's going to come down to. Will they stand up to them? Now, the good news is
if they don't, we're doomed, Cleve. I mean, I hate to say that. Here we are. This is it. They're going to have to do some very, very difficult things, and they might think that it's going to be unpopular, but it's not going to be. Telling you that if they win the House, everybody that voted for them to do it is going to want them to do exactly what I just said, which is use every bit of power that they have to put an end to what's going on. And they can do that really with funding is really the only way they can do it. They can expose some stuff through some investigations and questioning and stuff like that. They may be able to do some of that, and they ought to. Like you said, you're right, they should. But the funding is where the power is. That's
where the rubber hits the road, no doubt about that. The governors, bless their heart, again, right now we don't have somebody in the executive in the federal government to fight for us, but we do have executive power in governors, and they're doing some pretty good stuff. And I began to think, I'm wondering now if God, who knows all things, who knows what's going to happen, has been preparing somebody like Ron DeSantis for this occasion. Because if the Democrats are successful in rendering Trump unable to run, you got a guy ready to take the baton and I think really carry it forward. And that could happen, unfortunately.
Well, isn't it sad that I don't know about you, one of my main concerns about Trump running is that there's no way they will let him win. And that's probably true for DeSantis as well, if I follow my logic to its conclusion. But I'm not talking about facts. I'm talking about the reality that we're in, to where I can have a thought that is legitimate and logical for me to think to myself, there's no way they will let him win. And isn't that sad that is actually a thought that makes sense?
Well, but here's the only way I would qualify what you're saying to me, in my opinion. They will do everything legal and illegal to keep him from winning. They will do everything possible. I still think he and I still think DeSantis could still win even with that type of opposition. But they will literally, and I said this a long time ago, once I start seeing Biden look so bad in the polls, they have nothing to lose. They've got to go for broke. And we need to understand that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But if they lose, if God allows that we get another opportunity to right the course here, they lose big time. And that's what they realize.
And Trump's stock is rising because they're making him a martyr. DeSantis has too. We talked about last week when he suspended that AG in the state of Florida that basically decided to flout the law. So he wasn't going to enforce Florida law. And Ron DeSantis basically just said, okay, you're fired.
Right.
Ron DeSantis, with that action, not only did he do a great thing for Florida and a great thing for conservatives, but he signaled to the right and to the left, if I'm president, this is what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
He actually signaled to everybody, if I'm president, we're getting rid of some bureaucrats.
Yeah, we're getting rid of, hopefully, agencies like the Department of Education. In other words,
and I think Trump would do the same thing. And at this point, Cleve, I said at one point, they need to do that. They need to clean out some bureaucracies, but they have to be steady in how they do it so that they don't throw the country into chaos. Just all of a sudden getting rid of a department that does something. I don't feel that way anymore. I think that the country is in enough chaos with the departments in place.
Right.
That I'm talking one fatal swoop, getting rid of them, boom, is the way to do it.
We need to, in this case, take a page out of the book of the Democrats who did everything they could within the first month of Biden's presidency. We need to do our side with that same urgency and dispatch. And it's time. I mean, I agree with you. We don't have time to play politics anymore. We never really have, but especially not now.
Yeah, I mean, and he needs to fire Christopher Wray, whoever it is, Trump, DeSantis, whoever it is. They need to get rid of the leader of the FBI, appoint a new head of the FBI that rides on a pale horse. If you know what I'm saying.
I do know.
And same thing with the Department of Education and all the stuff that they're pushing and doing to our country. Same thing with the Department of Energy and some of the things that they're doing. I mean,
in other words, they need to say to the cabinet head of the Department of Energy or the Department of Education, we're appointing you as the head of this department. Your job is to dismantle it.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to be doing. And we need goals and deadlines for every step of the way. And that's your job. And we can find people who can do that. And there are good FBI people and good Justice Department people who would do that. They can't do it now because they're the ones who are being held in check. We need to get them and say, you know what's going on? Clean house. Or we clean you out, but we're going to have to. So it's come down to that, David, and I actually believe again that the things that the enemies of this nation intend against this nation are going to backfire. I'm still believing God for just one more chance because I do think this is our final chance. I don't think we get any more chances after that. If we don't. Do what we have to do. I don't think the Democrats are going to let us get any more chances.
I don't see how we could. Yeah. If the Democrats accomplish their goals here, I'm not sure how we come back.
And if we don't stand up now, and I'm talking about the everyday average Americans, I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about the people who love this nation, who love what God has done in this nation. If we don't stand up now, I don't think America deserves another chance. David Perry, where can folks hear it?
Check it out on Spotify. You can find it on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Get it on, you can go to SoundCloud and find us. Also on YouTube, just search for MereCon Podcast. On Facebook, check us out there. You can leave a comment, all that good stuff.
That's David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker. And even though sometimes we may sound like it's over with, it's not over with yet. So keep the faith.